of some kind of AI experiment. So welcome everyone online, welcome everyone in the room. I'm just doing a quick welcome to say we are absolutely thrilled that you could all be with us this afternoon. And those of you in person and those of you online. We've got quite a packed program, so I'm just going to welcome you. I'm Francesca, and I'll be speaking in a little while. But the director of our ceremonies this afternoon is Gabriel Manyangaza, my colleague, who's going to join us now. And then we've also got Bram, our chair, who's going to be also part of the proceedings, and many others also online. So I think without any further ado, I'm going to ask, please, we've got two faith leaders who are going to open us in prayer for this afternoon and morning for some of you online. And that will be Usha, who's one of our board members and based in Durban. She's online. Usha, would you please pray for us before we start?
Thank you, Francesca, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to each one of you. So to begin our proceedings, I would like to invite you into your own inner space. And so if you can just let go of anything you're holding on to, bring yourself to a point of stability. That means sit down quietly somewhere. And if you'd like to, you can have your eyes open or closed. But I'm going to invite you to use your eye of visualization with the power of our thoughts to create this beautiful image of yourself as a being of pure light energy. See yourself as this living light within the body, in the center of the forehead, in this awareness that I'm more than what anyone can see with the physical eyes. I am not this body, not my name, the form, my gender, my religion. I am a living being of pure light energy, the spirit, the soul, the consciousness, the Atman, in this form of pure light. Each one of us, from the variety of faith, come together as one universal family, one world family, where the supreme, the parent of all of us beings, is a being of light, an eternal, ever pure being who is constant, who is the one who is peaceful, loveful, powerful, beyond the duality of our material world. And as we come together in this powerful awareness of being the children of that one, we experience the closeness, the unity, the love, respect, and harmony for each living being, for every element of our creation, our plants, the animals, and nature in general. As beings of energy, I am a radiant source. And instead of being consumer, I see myself as the living light, giving from within myself the pure energy that sustains, that protects our earth. And so I invite you to focus your attention on yourself as this beautiful being of living light, and feel from within yourself, the very core of your being, vibrations of peace, vibrations of pure love, radiating outward, and as each wave leaves you and spreads out, it touches every soul, every living being, every creation, all the 5 elements, bringing to it a deep sense of stillness, giving it the cool vibrations of contentment, so that our very elements can restore themselves. And so as this living being of light, I hold this powerful responsibility of spreading peace, love, and happiness all around me. And this peace can be as consistent as the awareness I hold for myself. With these thoughts, I remind myself that I am a being of peace. I am the living light, and peace flows through me. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Who's the other prayer?
May I ask for someone in the room?
I'm looking at Reverend Sean. You could please just give us a short Christian prayer before we start as well. Thank you so much. Please.
Let us pray. Lord, to you we give our proceedings of today. We thank you for all those who are gathered here in person and online, and for the opportunity that we have to gather in this manner. We thank you for this organization, SAFCEI, for all that we've been through, for your constant blessings upon us, upon those who work in this organization, those who serve in various capacities, and your blessings on the work that we do. We pray now that you will be with us in this AGM, be with all those who will make presentations, and with all our contributions. And as we are blessed today by our presence here, may we be a blessing to you, to all your people, and to all of creation. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sean. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Gabriel.
Thank you very much, Francesca, and also want to extend a welcome to all of you who are in the room today. And we are so happy that we are gathered today out in this very iconic place. And I know all our thoughts are with SAFCEI at this particular moment. And we would also like to welcome all those that are online to this particular meeting. Now that we have this added advantage of having people attending from all over, I think then SAFCEI becomes the regional body that it is. So without further ado, I just want to recognize people that are in the room. And for that, I would also want to bring back Francesca to just say, who do we have around in the room? And we'll do this in 1 minute because I want us to be on time for this AGM. So Francesca, if you can just come in and just have a general introduction of who is in the room today. Thank you.
This is Gabriel's spot quiz. You see that we hold each other to account. Now, I can say that I know many of you who are in the room, and I welcome you. We have current board members. We have past staff and board chair. We have a very kind and faith-based accounting firm, if there is such a thing, Paul. We have fellow NGOs who are also members, Turquoise Institute amongst others. We have faith leaders from different faith organizations, and we're so pleased to have you with us. Quaker, Unitarian, Anglican, and the list goes on. Muslim, and online, we just received the Brahma Kumari prayer from Usha, who is also one of our board members. And then online, we have many, many others. When I come round to my presentation, I will talk a little bit more about, I think it's 12 different countries who are joining us today. So there's a lot of presence beyond. We're kind of like the tip of the iceberg of the SAFCEI family. So I want to acknowledge all of you here, old friends, new friends, and all, of course, the team as well, who are working so very hard. There's a bank of them at the back here and more over here and here. It's quite an endeavor to pull together a hybrid event like this. And it's our first, as I mentioned earlier. So our little legs are swimming under the water. And we will continue to hopefully run smoothly through this AGM. So thank you so much, Gabriel. And I'm going to hand over to Bram now, our chair of our board, Bram Hanekon, the former moderator of the DRC church. And so a moderator is in his church is quite a high up individual. So Bram comes also with his peace and justice work and peace and reconciliation. So we are very privileged to have Bram as our board chair. Thank you, Bram.
Thank you, Francesca. Just on a lighter note, I remember when I became moderator, I told an international friend, well, I was very excited. I'm now the moderator of the church. I left the congregation, and he looked at me and he said, it sounds to me like a serious demotion. So please don't throw the moderator thing around. A friend from my side, what a privilege to be here. We're living exciting times, but also challenging times, times of complexity. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but thank you for your participation, and thank you for all the participants from all over Africa that are with us at this moment. It's a very, very special moment, and looking forward to the meeting. Board members who know me well know that I don't mess around. We try and finish business as soon as possible, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So allow me just identify participants eligible to vote. Portia, I think we've covered that. Do you want to say anything about that? So I think we will deal with that when we come to the actual voting.
Have them on WhatsApp, so they can just vote on WhatsApp.
Okay, okay, members in the room obviously will be able to vote, and then all the other members on WhatsApp. That brings us to agreement on the agenda. The agenda was available when we registered, so we've got it in front of us. We've discussed it properly beforehand. So can we agree on the agenda? Any other business that someone want to add to the agenda? I don't see here anything. So we immediately go to the adoption of the 2022 AGM minutes. Now, friends, again, we're not going to read through it. It was also available when we registered. All I'm going to do is just for the sake of order, go through the minutes page by page. We're going to page through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and page 9. So if I don't hear or see anything from you guys, I only need a secondant, and then we can accept the minutes. It's basically a reflection of what happened last year. Most of you were part of that meeting. So can we please table the minutes of last year and see if someone will be want to say it's okay. Anyone? Thank you. We've got a hand. So minutes accepted, and that immediately brings us to the annual report. And Francesca, with that, back to you. The annual report. Again, we've got a wonderful hard copy, beautifully done. Thank you for that. That's also available if you haven't got it. But Francesca, over to you.
Thanks so much, Brian. Good afternoon again. Seeing a lot of me today. So just while the annual report loads up, I think we're on now. Yes. Okay, fantastic. So as I said before, I'm Francesca. I'm the Executive Director of SAFCEI, and I have the great pleasure and privilege of sharing with you some of what was achieved in the last year. There was a lot. So these are really just the highlights of the amazing eco-justice actions taken by faith leaders and communities in 2022. And as I said before, we've got 12 countries who registered for this event, from Malawi, Kenya, Libya, Namibia, Nigeria, Sweden, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, the United States, and South Africa, which is a pretty impressive group of people, and welcome again to you all. And as I said before, this is our first hybrid and AGM ever. And the board put us to this task. They said, yes, it's time now. It's our first in-person AGM since COVID. So we really felt that we wanted to be together in person. We missed seeing your faces. And if we could, we would have everyone here in person. But one of the joys of the very small joys of the COVID time was that we learned how to do things online. And that really allowed much wider and important regional participation, because we are a regional NGO. And while our name says the Southern African Faith Communities Environment Institute, we have a lot of friends and faith leaders who we work with in East Africa and beyond. So we have defined ourselves geographically, but in fact, we are far more than that. So you can see here the cover of this year's annual report, and it's featuring some wonderful faith leaders from our nuclear-free advocacy and skills building workshop, which started last year. It was a workshop series, and here they are just getting started, I believe. And some of those wonderful people are here in the room today and some online. Next slide, please. So we've got some highlights from 2022. And in 2022, we trained a whopping 413 faith leaders on environmental advocacy training through our various workshops and trainings. Here's some more faith leaders outside Parliament calling for energy justice, calling for an energy plan for all, calling for energy that cares for the earth. Next slide, please. Yes, so here's the highlights. As I said, so many faith leaders have been trained. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I mean, I'm astounded by that number. 197 million people reached. It's almost incomprehensible. We also ran 5 campaigns on different topics: nuclear-free South Africa, cage-free South Africa, and so on. Next slide, please. We made a whopping 110 policy brief interventions. And that's not just the SAFCEI team, that's also the faith leaders who are engaging and actively participating in creating good governance. We also, we're very proud to say, have more than 50% of our staff, board, and fleet participation as women. And we keep working hard to raise more money to do this work. And lots of other successes, which I'm not going to go into, but they're all within our annual report, which you can read either in the hard copy or online. It's available on our website. Next slide, please. So our programs, we have 3 main programs as before. Animal justice is the one, and that's what you can see here. Here's a team of SAFCEI staff members standing outside Pick n Pay's headquarters here, right here in Cape Town. They are protesting the fact that hens are some of the most cruelly confined animals in the world. Billions upon billions of hens are in cages of less than an A4 page. And you can't live a natural life that way. And we believe as people of faith that we must stand up and expose this cruelty and say the industrialization of food systems doesn't mean that we have to be cruel to each other. If we're cruel to hens, all of these things happen behind the scenes. And that's not a reason the arguments given to us is always it means eggs are cheaper. Well, we don't believe that that is in keeping with faith traditions and the sanctity of life and how we must show respect to each other. So SAFCEI is part of a global campaign, the Open Wing Alliance, and we've been working with them since 2017. And we had engaged with Pick n Pay and the other retailers through something called the Sustainable Retailers Forum to try and get them to move out of using cage systems for hens. They are big, they have a big footprint in terms of farmed animal production. And they just were very reluctant in dragging their feet. So eventually, this is the tail end of many years of discussions and many years of putting the facts to them and the evidence of how globally we are moving in that direction. And why should South Africa sit behind what's happening globally? These companies have huge profits, and they indeed can surely make a pledge to go cage-free too. We're not asking for them to do it tomorrow, but in time. And that's the kind of movement building we need, because if you plan ahead, we know almost anything is possible. And I want to say that over here running the main computer here is Zweli, who runs the cage-free campaign. You have some very special people in the room here who do amazing work, as well as Tamsin and the other members of the communications team. They really drive that campaign, as well as our amazing faith leaders who are out there with them. Next slide, please. So on to another one of our campaigns. This is our energy and climate justice campaign. You don't need me to tell you about the energy crisis in South Africa and in the rest of the region. Here you can see a number of faith leaders, again, outside Parliament, saying we want a more equitable and affordable energy system. And in particular, we campaign for a nuclear-free South Africa. Nuclear energy is a legacy of an apartheid planning and thinking around energy, around geopolitics, around what it looks like to have power. And we reject it. It is not necessary. It's not affordable. It's not reliable. And I could talk about that topic for a very long time. With a big push right across Africa, over 16 countries in Africa have signed nuclear agreements. South Korea, Russia, China, they're all trying to enter into Africa with this outdated technology that takes at least a decade to install, always goes over, and quite frankly is a vehicle for graft. And we can absolutely reject it out of hand. There are much cheaper energy systems, such as renewable energy systems, which don't have the same kind of impact on the planet. And we know that faith communities all around the world have stood up against nuclear energy. It literally poisons the earth for hundreds of thousands of years. It's a very serious energy system that we should not be playing with. As someone said the other day, it is opening Pandora's box. So let us take that very seriously and not forget that while it may seem like it's not so prevalent, there are big pushes for it to become part of our energy mix more in South Africa and across the region. And we've done amazing work on that. You can see some of the workshops that are happening. We did 29 policy submissions made by faith leaders and our team of legal and technical experts on nukes and the energy and climate justice system in 2022. So yeah, I wish I had more time, but I don't want to take up too much time. So I'm zipping along to food and climate justice. The food and climate justice is our youngest program, but our event director, Gabriel, who you've already met, is the manager of that program. And I can only say that I'm hugely impressed by what Gabriel is achieving. Sorry, we're on to the next slide. And it's obviously not Gabriel, it's this amazing network of faith leaders across the region. These are just a few highlights that I just want to point out, the flourishing work that's going on, and really pay tribute to the faith leaders who are doing this work. This first slide here on the left is the Rapka Seeds of Nourishment, led by a Buddhist community here in Cape Town. It's a gift garden in the Ocean View Organic Farm. They make vegetables through a volunteer team that feeds a special community center that feeds vulnerable children and their caregivers in the community. And that initiative, the Open Door Initiative, feeds approximately 200 children daily. So these green vegetables are making a massive difference in the nutritional health of those children. And we know stunting is a very serious issue in our region. So you can imagine what a few volunteers can do with a little veggie garden. It's just warms my heart. You also have here on the right-hand side, sorry, I'm just looking for, it's in Uganda, it's Fleet, Uganda, and they did a project on the Year of Nutrition. They showed some of the produce that's coming out of their garden. I mean, doesn't it just look delicious? What a wonderful thing. I would have loved to have attended that event. Then we also have Gabriel representing us globally in the fight against the industrialization of farming in Africa. This slide down here on the bottom left is a press conference that was held with a number of our international partners, including the regional organization AFSA, talking about the impact of industrialization of food, the push in Africa, and the impact it's having on small-scale farmers. This is very important work. And Gabriel has over 500 faith leaders who've signed on to say we don't want industrial farming in Africa. So please join us. These are all ongoing campaigns and work that we're doing. You can engage with us. Just to say, it's not work that SAFCEI is doing, it's really work that you're doing. So the spotlight is on all of you, not us. And I think that's a really important thing for us to recognize. We have intervention points that we make, important intervention points that we make. It's not a lot, we're a small team, but we do want to influence policy. We do want to influence decision-making. And we also want to make sure that people are informed of what's going on. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to move along quickly to some of our platforms. Next slide, please. Including the wonderful Fleet platform, the Faith Leader Environmental Advocacy Training. We had 5 fleets in 2022, in-person fleets in Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania, and then online fleets, the regional women's fleet and a fleet in Namibia as well. Of the 105 faith leaders who took part, 50% were women. And we're very proud of that because it's a new target that we have. We know that many faiths don't have formal structures that allow women to be leaders. So it's very important for us that we try and look at justice issues within that framework as well. Again, so much going on. This first picture is from Lakia Garvin. He's a Muslim faith leader. He's working with the women, doing amazing work in their food gardens there. It's just so impressive what's going on. Here we've got some pictures from Fleet Namibia, Enrico Asab and Nicholas Agumem. They are in Sunen, and they're working with an old age home supported by 10 volunteers. They're doing a cleanup. We also have some pictures here from Fleet in Malawi. There's Happy Mbewe. He did an eco-footprinting workshop, and he was telling us about how that impacted how he looks at his own home and his community, and innovative ways that he made changes, such as rain runoff, how he used that for vegetables instead of it eroding the soil around his home. And then in the bottom, you can see that we've got Fleet Tanzania. They gathered together, a multi-faith group, and covered a number of different issues. And then finally, we've got Fleet Zambia, who gathered together in Lusaka at the Christian Brothers Spiritual Center. So just a wonderful group of faith leaders across the continent. And I hope many of you are online with us today. Next slide, please. We also ran 6 regional interfaith dialogues. These were on provoking topics to try and deepen faith understandings of different ways of dealing with things like green funerals. I mean, it was an incredibly popular topic, the interfaith dialogues. Next slide, please. And here I just want to show a little bit more about from our amazing communications team. As I said, they really do a sterling job, and they've chosen to feature here spotlight on their work on cage-free hens. And you can see there's Welly, as well as a number of the different campaigns that we've run. Next slide, please. Part of our communications campaign is a fast action network. It's an online network that you can join, and it's very easy to just take actions. If you want to join a campaign, you can join the network, and we'll send you simple and easy things to do on Twitter and other social media platforms. So I really want to encourage you to join us. Next slide, please. I can really say that I'm really giving you the very tippy top of our annual report. So please read it, because I'm not even telling you of all the successes that happened last year with the cage-free campaign, only the ongoing Pick and Pay one, which I really want you to engage with. Here we've got Green Action Week. This is through one of our partners, the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation. They do this globally each year, and faith communities can choose to join us and take action. And you can see a number of different Green Action Week efforts there, including in Zambia. Here's the Green Bishop. He's planting 500 seedlings. We've also got a seed swap going on, which was at Ocean View. There's also a training in Namibia. And then finally in Zimbabwe, it's a cleanup campaign and environmental awareness. Next slide, please. Then we also do supporting faith communities. Many of you will know that we've had a long time partnership. We're a funding conduit for sustaining the Wild Coast. And this is one of their wonderful food garden pictures. Looks absolutely delicious as well. And it's part of our work that we do with them. We support the salaries of their organization, and it's enabled them to really grow and flourish as well. So we're very proud of the work that they're doing. We can't really take credit for a lot of this stuff, but we're very pleased that it's happening through a little bit of our efforts as well. Next slide, please. I want to give a special thank you. This is the staff team of SAFCEI in 2022 for their hard work, perseverance, and commitment that makes everything we do possible. The issues that we work on are pretty relentless, and we are learning how to pace ourselves and reflect on our efforts and take wisdom from our faiths to help keep our energy running. That's one of the big challenges in this work, is to know when to rest and know when you need to surge ahead. And I think that's a lifelong challenge, I'm sure. But despite the many challenges we faced together, we have thrived. Next slide, please. Also, big thanks to our board members. They're a very special bunch of people who are volunteers. They oversee our work. They give us a lot of wise counsel. They scrutinize what we do and our finances in particular. They hold us to account, and they uphold us when the going gets tough. We so appreciate our board members, past and present, time and effort and energy. And a huge thanks to all the faith leaders who are here today, and all of the ones online and the ones who weren't able to join us today. These communities across Southern and East Africa are the heart of our work. You and your communities take action despite many trials and challenges. And we will prevail because we have to, and because we have a shared vision of all of humanity, caring for creation and living in harmony with Mother Earth. We know that this can be achieved as we've learned from past mistakes. we continue to get up and dust ourselves off, and we keep trying for as long as we are here. And I want to quote from the Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of Our Fathers, which is one of the best known and most cited of the Jewish sacred texts. You're not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. And I really hold that in my heart. We don't have to do everything possible, although sometimes the younger generation really hold us to account for not doing enough. But we are obligated to continue until we are finished, which is not yet, I'm pleased to say, about SAFCEI. Finally, I want to give a special thanks to our donors and our partners who do this work alongside us. Thank you to our friends and our supporters. Thank you to past board members. Thank you very much to our new advisory council for their theological and ecological inputs. And thank you all again. I'm going to hand over to Nokutula Ndlovu, our finance manager, who's done a recording of our accounts. And it's going to come up on the screen very shortly. So just in a moment.
Performance for the year ended 31 December 2022. Firstly, SAFCEI is a non-profit organization founded in South Africa as a non-profit company with members. This is one of the three ways a non-profit organization can be founded in South Africa, either via a trust with a trust deed, via a voluntary association with a constitution, or via a non-profit company with a memorandum of incorporation. And thus SAFCEI is governed by two main documents, which is the Companies Act and the founding document, which is the memorandum of incorporation. As most members and voting members will know, that SAFCEI recently substituted its memorandum of incorporation within its entirety with a new memorandum of incorporation via a majority vote by voting members of SAFCEI, as well as the SAFCEI Board of Directors. And this happened and was finalized this year in June 2023. So these two governing documents give rise to various requirements, which include the need for the company to be audited for its annual financial statements, how the company is governed, the composition of the board, the need to call annual general meetings, and every other procedure that will happen today, as well as the composition of members and the rights of those members. That said, SAFCEI's financial year runs from the 1st of January to the 31st of December each year. And our independent auditors, Solus Consulting Chartered Accountants, completed auditing SAFCEI's 2022 financial statements, and they issued SAFCEI with an unqualified audit opinion, which is the most favorable opinion that an auditor can give. This means that in the auditor's opinion and their independent judgment of reviewing the company's accounts, they deemed our accounts to be fairly represented without noting material exceptions, and is in compliance with the International Financial Reporting Standards and the Companies Act of South Africa. The company's financial position. In terms of the financial position, there are two main aspects I will speak of, which are mainly liquidity and solvency. Liquidity is the ability of an organization to be able to meet its financial obligations as and when they arise. That is, how quickly can you get your hands on cash in order to pay your bills when they arise. And on the other hand, solvency is the ability for an organization to continue its operations for a long period of time. In other words, is SAFCEI able to meet its long-term financial obligations, long-term debts? SAFCEI is liquid, as SAFCEI is currently cash positive and has cash reserves. SAFCEI has signed and secured funding with committed funders who make funding available for agreed program expenses, and have other funders who assist, and we have other funders who assist in covering core costs as well. Therefore, we have no problem meeting day-to-day expenses. Solvency, SAFCEI, the question on solvency, SAFCEI is solvent. We are cash flow positive. As I noted before, we have committed funders who, most of the larger funders give us long-term contracts, 3 to 5 year contracts, which allows us to be more secure in those funding agreements. And there is also an opportunity for renewing those contracts at the end of each term. SAFCEI is also seeking to continue to actively work on a diversification of funders, diversification of income, and that is still work in progress, but we are very secure and we are solvent. The executives also work closely with funders and deal with funder relationships, and there is a strong push to remain donor compliant and continue to strive in fundraising. That said, donations still play a very important role in SAFCEI, as donations would form part of unrestricted funding and reserves. As grant funding is still SAFCEI's main source of income, it is important to note that it is restricted funding, which means that we need to spend as per the agreed budget, and where spending does not occur, a funder may ask for the money to be paid back or allow us to roll it forward to the next year for spending. Grants do not allow us to save unspent funds into our reserves. And that is why you will always hear a call for donations, as we are looking to build unrestricted funding through donations, as well as building through the interest income and other sources of unrestricted funding accumulation. And therefore, donations are highly valued at SAFCEI, but we don't receive a lot. So I would always ask, where there is a call for donations, please do assist with that. In terms of the financial performance, the total grants received in 2020, received and utilized in the 2022 year reduced by 6%, from 10 million in 2021 to 9.5 million in 2022. And this is directly linked to the 2 long-term funder budget projects, which were concluding at the end of 2021. And there was a final push to fully spend down those funder budgets, which allowed us to fully and increase spending in the 2021 year to fully utilize the Bread for the World project budget, as well as the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation budget. You will also see in the expenditure columns, this is directly proportionate to the grants received. You will see that there is also a reduction of total expenditure by about 10%, from 10 million in 2021 to 9 million in 2022, which is also, a directly linked to the push to spend down the Bread for the World and the Swedish Society funder budgets. You will see the next slide just shows how SAFCEI utilized the program funds in relation to the different spending aspects, energy and climate justice, animal justice, the faith leader, environmental training and advocacy, the food and climate justice sitting at 20% of the total programmatic expenditure. So, as we have seen, SAFCEI going forward, our 2023 budget is currently sitting at 12.3 million, which is considerably higher than the actual expenditure made in the 2022. And that is a direct result of new funding which has come in, Ford Foundation, the IKI funder, as well as SAFCEI has started a new funding projects with SSNC, Swedish Society for Nature Conservation, Bread for the World, the 3-year contract, and a 5-year contract for SSNC. There are other potential prospects that management is still in the process of finalizing and submitting to funders. And so thus you can see that SAFCEI is moving forward to expand programs and therefore is continuing as a going concern. If there is nothing that I left for you today, I hope that I have given you some peace of mind that SAFCEI is here to stay and is committed to growing and expanding its territory. I'll leave you with a verse from the Bible, the Holy Book, from Proverbs 11, verse 14, which says, "Where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety." Let us work together and support each other to assist SAFCEI to grow together with the communities and the faith leaders that SAFCEI works with, to improve life in general. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nokutula. And in her absence, friends, I think it's just appropriate to sincerely thank Nokutula for the hard work that she has done. It's sad to announce that she left SAFCEI. She's still doing some work for us, but her family moved to Johannesburg, which made it sort of impossible for her to stay. And but she's really still helping us out, and we're in the process of looking out on how to fill the position. But a sincere word of thanks. I must mention it, just a clean audit, the way she did it, it's really incredible. I always asked her in board meetings, Francesca, Nokutula, just tell us, do we have money? And then she said yes, and that's where she ended today. You can see a very open balance sheet. And so the next point on our agenda is the vote on acceptance of the accounts. That's the financial report as she presented it. But before we get to that, I just want to mention a bit quick, Francesca. I also want to thank Francesca on her report. She's doing an incredible job. I think you've sensed it. The way she keeps everything together, the finances and everything that goes with it. She mentioned nuclear. Now, we had a joint meeting with the Western Cape Religious Leaders Forum here in this particular venue on Tuesday, and we discussed it in depth. And I only want to leave you with one question. We're going to spend 20 billion on the refurbishment of Kuburg. Now, that was the amount that we got in, I think, 2010. Okay? Nobody wants to give us the final amount, but say it's 40 billion or 60 billion. Now, that's just Kuburg. You don't want to know the amount to build a 2.5 gigawatt nuclear station afresh. Okay. Now, if we take those billions and we spend it on the upgrade of the grid, and we build solar in the Northern Cape, we can do it in 5 years with half the money. Now, you just go and think about it. And these are the kind of issues that we're battling here at SAFCEI. We really want not to make a fool out of ourselves. We want to deal with the best of information that we can get hold of. And so, Francesca, thank you for your report. Thank you, Nokutula. And with that, I just want to table the financial reports as we've received it to the meeting. And we can, Portia, we will do the voting online. You are registered. You can just give a thumbs up. Or even if there's anyone against it, maybe we will do it this way around. Anyone against it here in the meeting here at Tutu Foundation? I don't see any objections. Portia, you haven't received any objections? Okay. So with that, friends, we accept the finances as we've received. Next point on the agenda, and I'm almost done, is the election of new board members. Now, the way that it works is that how it works is we can nominate and accept a nomination here at the AGM, and then we take that nomination to the board, and the board will do the screening and the interviews, and then finally appoint someone. So this is just in what it is. In essence, it's a broad nomination to open it to everyone. But obviously, when we deal with board members, we really want to do our homework properly. We want to do the screening, the interviews, and everything that goes with it. So at this point in time, I would like to ask, yeah, there you see the partners in crime on the screen. Wonderful group of people. Francisca, any nominations at this point in time?
Yes, let me just get that little microphone thing so they can.
Just before I give it to you, I want to just another bit of sad news is Sean Cazette, he's with us in the room. He also resigned from board after many, many years. He's busy with his doctoral studies with the strong ecological theme, also theological input. He's got a lot on his plate. He's also very much involved with the Anglicans at the moment. And he came to me and he said, maybe a clash of interests. I'm a little bit worried. And he spent many, many, many years on board. We're going to keep him as part of our Theological Advisory Council. So we will not lose him. And I'm very, very glad to announce that. But he's leaving us. So I'm going to give this little microphone. Oh, you've got one there. Francesca?
He also said he'll be SAFCEI's chaplain, and we're taking him up on that. And also, we recently did an sorry, this is me going off. We did an eco footprinting exercise at Sean's church here, St. Paul's on Bree Street. And it was really very, very interesting. And so now we need to go even further and start supporting his faith community to take the eco actions that they want to do for that building and for that community. So lots of work ahead, Sean, but so we're not losing you. So I'm just going to say thank you for being part of us on the board. I always think the board's kind of like the less exciting form of volunteering. Not to say that it isn't exciting. I love the board and we do good work, but it's not, boots on the ground kind of work. It's the fiduciary oversight and that kind of responsibility. But thank you so much, Sean, for everything you've done. We really appreciate you. So we have a nomination also from the Anglican community, Dion McDillan, who I haven't met. I think he might be online with us today. And thank you for the nomination. So that is the only nomination we've received so far. Anyone else want to nominate themselves, Glynis? Not to put you. Glynis is a former chair of SAFCEI and also worked with us for many years. She's moved to Cape Town, so I'm just putting her on the spot.
I've seen Dion. I think Dion is online. So we've got that nomination. By the way, I saw on the list of board members you've got Christians and then you've got people from the Dutch Reformed Church. But we're not going to go into that. We'll sort that out. So, having said that, may I also nominate future reference someone from the Dutch Reformed Church, and that is Dewald Hoffman. He is currently the chair of the Green Team and finishing his doctorate in theology on ecological issues. So, but like I said, it's just a nomination, and obviously we will process everything. Right. So if you can just for the minutes, Dion Hoffman, Dewald Hoffman. Friends, thank you. So that is that, which brings me to the motion and motions. Yeah.
The accountants.
We've done that.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, the accounts and the accountant. Oh, brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Right. So, friends, we've received one motion, and I think it's well written. And normally I really want to speed up things when it comes to meetings, but I'm going to, if we can get it on the screen, I'm quickly going to read through it. When I looked at the motion before the meeting, I said to Francesca, this is not a motion, it's almost like a vision document, well articulating the stuff and the challenges that we have in front of us. So this is the motion in front of us. We members of faith communities from across Southern and Eastern Africa today reaffirm the declaration made in 2019 when faith communities came together for a new vision for a sacred life and living earth. In the richness of our faiths and great variety of beliefs and practices, we share a mandate to care for our sacred common home, which sustains and nourishes the whole community of life. We witness with grave concern the climate disruption, environmental degradation, and ecosystem collapse, threatening not only the flourishing of life, but the very survival of all living beings. We face chronic socioeconomic injustices and a widening poverty gap. Time is running out, and we're at the tipping point. The global climate crisis and ecological collapse is so extreme that a new level of mobilization is required. Our response is underpinned by ethical principles and indigenous knowledge systems, and driven by visionary and cooperative leadership. We recognize the central role played by women and young people. We remain united through our shared calling and common commitment to care for the community of life and to seek justice for the earth and future generations. Today, we declare that the energy crisis in the context of the climate crisis requires a rethinking of what just energy transition looks like. We reject plans for development of new nuclear energy and new fossil fuel exploitation, such as gas and oil exploration, and new coal-fired power stations. We must now act with the knowledge that our dependence on fossil energy use contributes to climate change. And as before, we recognize that whilst we are able to take individual measures to mitigate this, it is with the systems that regulate, produce, and price energy that are prohibiting the systemic change that is necessary. Therefore, as faith leaders, we must be a prophetic voice of the energy and climate crisis. We must have a vision of a just transition from fossil and nuclear energy to renewable and equitable systems with affordability and access for all. We call on faith communities to help collectively shape a new narrative of economic development that supports the well-being of all living beings. We commit to carrying the message of climate and energy justice from ourselves to our households, to our places of worship and beyond. We also commit to campaigning for efficient public transport systems and to measuring and reporting on our own energy justice initiatives. We call on governments in Southern and Eastern Africa to act in public interest and to put people and the planet ahead of profits and vested interest. To this end, we call on those countries involved in the EACOP pipeline project to rethink, and to Southern African governments to expedite proper integrated energy planning process whereby all living in South Africa can have a say over their energy future. Friends, I think this is an excellent document. We want to table this with all documents in this format. We're not going to discuss now a wording here or a sentence there. It's concepts that we are working. We haven't got the time, and this is not a space to do that. But I want to table this motion on behalf of SAFCEI and ask if there are any remarks in this regard. I don't see anyone in the room. Do we have a question? Thanks, we've got one here. Please, you'll have to, I will repeat the question, or maybe just to take this little microphone.
Yes, Carl Lindeman for the Interfaith Initiative here in Cape Town. Just actually following up on our session on Tuesday, and to remind, I think we should affirm the need for that prophetic voice and to deeply reach into the spirit of prophecy, which is a call not only for justice, but also to be clear of the consequences of our failure to embrace the need. And that's the biblical story. It's not about predicting prophecy in the Hebrew scriptures. It's not about predicting the future. It's about accepting the consequence for social injustice and a lack of foresight. And that is something we can certainly embrace.
Indeed, this is what we're trying to say with this document, the prophetic voice. I think it starts off with a richness that comes from all the faiths that we have here, the wisdom that we have in this room. And with that, we want to say to the powers, look, we've got some things at stake here that will really impact on the future of our children and grandchildren. And this is part of the work that we are doing. Right. Okay, friends, time is running out.
May I replace the content of that motion circulated to the committee? I'd like to circulate them further.
Yeah. Friends, let's do this. I think let's Rachel, you've got your hand up. You can come into the meeting online. Rachel, please.
Yes, thank you, Bram. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic statement, totally agree with it, but I feel like the ECOP part should be swung past our Ugandan members, first of all. I don't think it would be fair to make a statement which is reflecting on a country and to let the faith leaders, I know, for instance, there's quite a split in the faith leaders in terms of ECOP. Some are supportive, some are not supportive. So it would be really, I think we should let the Ugandans speak on the ECOP themselves.
Personally, I think it's a wise remark. It's not going to kill the document if we take that out. But if we take notice of this wise remark from Rachel, we can amend. I don't think it's a problem. It will not take the essence out of the document. It's just being sensitive and wise here. So let's do that. I think in the end, friends, what I wanted to say, well, what I was saying in the beginning, let's circulate the document, and this is work in progress. We haven't spoken the last word on the challenges that we are facing here. So let's take it as is. We take that sentence out, we circulate it, and then we want to ask all people involved and people online as well, send us your input and remarks, and let's start this discussion. We can do it via mail, in many, many ways. This must be a live and organic document that can take us forward. Francisco?
And Bram, I apologize if you did say this at the start, but that document started from our policy conference, which was in 2019. So some of you, like Linus, who is very involved in getting the consensus building around that, will recognize some of the text. It really came from 90 faith leaders coming together and thinking together about 6 thematic areas. And this was one of them. This is the energy and climate justice area. There's 5 other thematic areas that we really want to be thinking into more. So I think this is a good moment for us to refresh our commitment to that declaration, which we called grandly the Johannesburg Declaration, and see how we want to take it forward. But this was one part of it which we felt was very timely after the meeting just this week with faith leaders looking at the energy and climate crisis. So thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Members of the meeting, if you look at the agenda, you can see we are 3 minutes ahead of schedule.
That's wrong for you.
So with that, I'm going to hand. We left the best for last. So with that, I'm going to hand back to Francesca, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker for the afternoon. And with that, also, I think it closes the business part of the meeting. Any other business? We haven't received that. Gabriel, maybe you want to say something on that. But with that, I'm going to take off my jacket, sit back and listen to the speaker and give back to Francesca and Gabriel. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have such a hardworking chair. Thank you, Bram, for taking us speedily through that. Just to let you all know that the little feet have been speedily going on in the background. Voting has happened in the members' WhatsApp group, and I believe that both those nominations have been accepted. Portia, am I? Yes. Oh. Okay, we're just having more AI. This is just to give you a soothing feeling of Nokutula and her wonderful, calm, reassuring voice. It's one of the reasons why we're such a fantastic team at SAFCEI. You know, different personality and skill sets come together in a wonderful mix which produces amazing results. I'm very privileged to introduce both Amber Julius, who is the youth activist who interviewed Wanjira Mathai earlier this week. Wanjira Mathai is a renowned Kenyan environmental leader with a passion for creative positive change. And I know Wanjira, she's kind of a sister to me because we worked together in a much crazier environment, which was supporting her mom, Wanjira Mathai, who was the first African woman and first environmentalist globally to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Because finally, in 2005, the world woke up to the fact that peace, poverty, and sustainability are all linked to each other, and you cannot have one without the other. And Wangari always used to say that is the three-legged African stool that is carved from one piece of wood. You cannot separate those three pillars. So Wanjira herself is a renowned leader as well. And while I call her my sister, she is also the managing director for Africa and global partnerships at the World Resources Institute. And she's tackled critical issues such as deforestation and energy access. She has a very deep commitment, generational, on environmental sustainability. She still serves as the chair of the Wanjira Mathai Foundation. And she was named this year as one of Times Magazine's 100 most influential people. She has had a remarkable career over 2 decades. And recently she's entered into the fray with Africa Climate Week. You will see that WRI, which is the African branch of her organization, got involved in helping to organize the African Summit, which has been highly criticized. And when we were busy planning this interview for today, we spoke a bit about this issue of entering into the ring. And many of you will know that famous quote about entering into the ring. Am I willing to get my hands dirty? Am I willing to fall? Am I willing to be part of the mix? And I reminded her again that it's important that people are criticizing this. It's important that people are commenting on it. And it's important that we know that we're engaged in the issues. And that's really what we want. In a democracy, you're not going to have the same viewpoint. You're going to have many. So I welcome you to enjoy this interview with Wanjira and Amber recorded earlier this week. Thank you.
Wanjira, it's so great to have this opportunity to sit down with you virtually over Zoom and have a conversation about what I believe are the most pressing issues of our time. The title of our discussion, Harnessing Africa's Potential, Community-Led Solutions for the Environmental and Climate Crisis Empowered by Good Governance, is a lot to cover in this conversation. And I am really interested as a woman youth activist to learn about how you have navigated spaces as a woman leader in your career towards this goal. I have a few questions that I hope we could get through during our chat.
Well, they're terrific. Thank you so much, Amber, and thank you for having me on this particular forum. I'm really inspired by the work that the Southern African Faith Communities Environment Institute, SAFCEI, does. And we know that especially at this time, faith leaders are so critical in the environmental movement, in the climate movement, as we battle the misinformation campaign, as we battle to get people taking real action. We are now even inspired by the movement that is the faith-based organizations that are able to move people every single day to do things inspired by their faith traditions. And I hope that we could find ways that SAFCEI and others like
relationship. And in your opinion, what role can communities and good governance play in harnessing Africa's potential for sustainable change?
That's a great question. I think the interconnection between climate justice and good governance is complex. It's mutually reinforcing. And many times it focuses on the fair distribution of responsibilities, benefits, resources in addressing climate change, considering especially the historical injustices, the historical vulnerabilities, the differentiated but equal but differentiated responsibilities to address it. So really important, the element of climate justice, because even though climate change is affecting all of us, we have got to acknowledge the equal but differentiated responsibility we have to take real action. So good governance encompasses the transparency, the responsibility, the inclusion in decision-making that's needed. And I would say three key things. One is a fair allocation of responsibility. And that's where this idea that we know that 80% of global emissions are the responsibility of the global north, and therefore their responsibility to rapidly decarbonize, deeply decarbonize, is paramount. We also know that those most affected are in the South, especially the most developing countries, and that their support, their being supported is crucial for them to manage the impacts of climate change in a situation that they did not cause. So this is really important for us to acknowledge that fair allocation of responsibility. There's also the fair allocation of resources, the fact that resources are available, the fact that commitments have been made under the auspices of the Paris Agreement, and that those resources must be made available so that communities can manage and prepare themselves against the worst impacts of climate change. Locally led initiatives are really important because it is at the community level where it most hurts, where it most pinches. And therefore, climate justice necessitates the involvement of all stakeholders, particularly those impacted by climate change directly. So these are local communities, indigenous communities, smallholder farmers, communities that are right there. And it's also crucially important, their involvement, because local knowledge and local traditions contribute to more effective and contextual climate solutions. So it's really important that we have that. Then, of course, policy is really important. To have effective governance, you need to ensure that climate policies are integrated into broader strategies. So those are some of the things I would say that if we're going to unlock Africa's potential, we really have to ensure that those pieces are included.
Thank you. And from working in Africa regionally and on the global stage, how can community leaders effectively mobilize and inspire change within their communities? And what role can youth play in this?
Well, community leaders do have a crucial role in mobilizing and inspiring climate action. They are, after all, the North Star. Communities look up to them. They hold knowledge, they hold information. They are often the bridge to government. They're often the bridge to other influencers. And so it's really important that their leadership is present. Their relevance as leaders should connect climate change to local concerns. They're often the front line when communities are struggling due to any crisis. The community leaders are the ones who are there to comfort, there to give direction and highlight how the community must move forward. So highlighting the changing patterns of weather, water scarcity, all of these community challenges are often most relevantly addressed through community leaders who are trusted. They are the ones who inspire change within their communities, as you've said. They're also empowerment holders. They encourage community members to take ownership of their environment. They remind communities all the time that it is in their hands, their fate. Not everything is the responsibility of others. And I remember this particularly from the work of the Greenbelt movement that my mother, Wanjira Mathai, founded, that it was really important for communities to feel a deep sense of ownership of their particular issues and their environment. And then, of course, facilitating partnerships with local schools and businesses and government agencies is also a crucial role that community leaders play. So those are just but a few.
Working across the region, what role and progress has been made by faith-based activists and social movements in addressing environmental issues in Africa? Additionally, what more needs to be done to further reduce the carbon footprint on the continent?
Well, I think faith-based organizations have played such an important role in ensuring that environmental issues are central. We know, I think I'm safe to say that most faith traditions have the creation as part of the environment, as part of the creation story, the platform, the ecosystem on which all life succeeds, the life support system. That was definitely in most faith traditions a spiritual responsibility for all of us who benefit from it. I know from my own faith tradition, Christianity, that is a responsibility right up front in the book of Genesis. We are called to take care, to be custodians of God's creation. And that is the environment that we're talking about. And in fact, our responsibility is personal. It is part of the gift that we have to be on this planet. And so I think faith-based organizations create a great opportunity for people to connect with that message from a spiritual level. There's always, as well, the awareness raising. Faith-based organizations have been very successful in about environmental issues, and SAFCEI is one of those. And that's going to be more and more important because there's a lot of trust vested in faith-based organizations and so much misinformation out there. Communities are looking at their faith-based leaders and faith-based organizations for direction to help leverage and influence and advocate for policies that will be good for the environment, for God's creation. So I think that's a really crucial role. I think faith-based organizations also foster interfaith collaborations. We know that in most faith traditions, we are taught that we are all one big family after all. And so bringing faith-based organizations together, bringing communities together, safeguarding the most vulnerable among us is one of the most important teachings from faith-based organizations. Children, women, and especially those who do not have their full capacity, that we have a responsibility to look out to them. Those are but a few, but I think faith-based organizations have time and time again that they have influence, they inspire, and they inspire action. And that's what needs to happen more and more, especially as we reduce the carbon footprint, that we realize it is urgent. It is extremely urgent. According to the science, we know how urgent it is, but we have to move this movement from the head to the heart. And nobody does the heart better than faith organizing.
Wow, Wanjira, thank you for sharing that. And lastly, as we tackle the environmental and climate crisis, what critical gaps do you see that demand immediate attention and action? Can you include the role of women as you see it?
Well, I think one of the biggest gaps is solidarity and working together. We are seeing a lot of siloed activities. Right now, the climate crisis demands that we work together in partnership, all of us, communities who are in the research agenda like us, faith-based organizations, communities, local communities, government, we have to partner together. And one of the gaps I see is still this lack of solidarity sometimes. And I am saddened often by the fact that, especially here in Africa, we have so much work to do. We have so much ahead of us, such deep vulnerability, that we have to move fast, but we have to move fast together. And what we are starting to see is a lot of pulling each other down, and that we have to work. And I hope that SAFCEI and others will be part of bringing us together. There's so much ahead. That's so much. It is Africa's moment right now. There's a great opportunity to drive a green growth agenda. There's a great opportunity to drive an economic agenda that reduces poverty. We know that we can't adapt against abject poverty. We have to address poverty as we know it today. That's a gap that I hope that we can come together to define, because we know historically this green growth agenda has had its complexity and people don't always feel that they are aligned to it. We need to come together to Africa to define in Africa and define the variety or the type of growth we want to see. But at the heart of it has to be a focus on addressing poverty and empowering economically communities so that we can build lasting resilience. If we do not do that, we risk ourselves and our own survival at a time when we are the most vulnerable. So I think solidarity today for me seems like one of the biggest gaps we have.
I think we can squeeze in one more question just shortly. Africa possesses unique strengths and opportunities. In your perspective, what distinct characteristics or resources does the continent hold that can be leveraged to make a significant impact in the fight against climate change?
Well, there are three that continue to inspire me. As we go into the Africa Climate Summit, I'm inspired by the fact that at the moment, Africa is the youngest population in the world. We are largely a young population, 80% under the age of 35. That is an entire powerhouse that could put their creativity, their ingenuity, their innovation into work for climate justice and for climate change. We also know that Africa holds some of the greatest potential in renewable energy resources. We do not have to poison ourselves going forward. We can leverage the renewable energy resources on our continent that are the largest in the world when it comes, for example, to solar potential. We need to make more of that. That's a huge opportunity for Africa. And finally, we also know that there's been a lot of historical exploitation of African resources, and we need to begin to think about what opportunities there are for Africa to benefit from the critical resources, in particular those that are being demanded for the renewable energy sector. I think those are three of the most exciting at the moment, but I'm sure there are many, many others, one of which is another favorite of mine, the fact that in Africa is the healthiest lung of this planet, the Congo forest. We need to do everything we can to restore it, and then everything we can to protect it.
Wow, thank you so much, Wanjira, once again for taking the time out to discuss harnessing Africa's potential. It has been a pleasure.
But thank you for having me and all the best. I wish you all a wonderful annual general meeting.
Thank you. We wish you all, Wanjira.
Thank you very much to Wanjira for that. Maybe about 2 minutes before the time that you are supposed to complete speaking. Is there somebody who has something that they may want to mention in response to what she just said? Somebody who has something burning that came up because of what Wanjira said. So, yes.
I'm Stephen. So I did some spot where she, where you know, it's talking about a region. So for me, that sparked my attention as to how would that happen. Perhaps in the future, I would love to go into details. So we need to remove the red tape. There's space for communication, but how do we do that? As well as how do we enhance the living spaces for those who are in the rural areas to support the work of protection for nature and for sustainable living and growth. So for me, when she spoke about region, it sparked the attention to get out of my comfort zone and start exploring. Yeah, so it's not burning, but I'm excited when you mentioned that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sizwe. And I think that goes also with what she was talking about in terms of the young taking charge of the situation as we go forward. We'd like to see more of that. And I also noticed Sally want to say something.
Yes, thank you. I'm Sally. I'm with the Cape Town Unitarian community. And I love what you said about it's not quite burning, but yeah, it's definitely, I feel some warmth. I just noted that it was interesting to me. I've had a conversation with some present here and when we met the other day as well, you know, she was talking about how we cannot work in silos. We are so connected with the things that we are working on. And I feel that within the various sectors, we're coming to that realization that we cannot keep instilling the separateness that was put upon us and think that, oh no, this is their issue, not ours. They caused this, not us. Certainly we do need to have that, you know, shared responsibility, but to also realize that there cannot just be a push from one side. And I've been saying to others as well, we need to get into each other's communities, guys. You know, we are such a group of people that really love and support each other and the work that we are doing. And so I would really love to see in the future that we pitch up in each other's communities as we've started doing in the past, that we may continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. And would like to thank everyone for listening. Now would want to move on to the next part of our program. And that next part of our program relates to part of the work that we are doing, where we would want to equip each other with the information that is found within our region. And mainly, we would want to get the new knowledge that is coming up at the moment so that we make use of it in the different spaces that we are involved in. Reverend, because we are doing studies and it is also part of the information that we would want you to make use of and to quote it as widely as possible so that many people would also get to understand what is actually happening. Food happens to be one of the key things and at the center of our lives. And as we look at it, we find that the method of bringing the food to the table would impact us as we go into the future. So it is important for us that we are not only partaking of the food, but we also take care of where that food is coming from and in what form the food is coming to us. And in this, we are saying there is an alternative way, or there has been a way in which food has been produced. And some of the things are dying off, but we are saying, let us go back and get that indigenous knowledge system to work for us again so that we are able to eat wholesome food. And this is why we have commissioned this series of research papers that focus on agroecology. And this time around, we focus on South Africa, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And what we did there is to look at what are the structures that inhibit the continued growth of the indigenous food systems as well as the agroecological principles that we need to take into consideration as we produce our food. And because of that, we then selected key cases where people are actually producing food agroecologically. And not only that, but making a living out of the land that is well kept and the land that can continue to be used into the future. And this is all outlined in the reports that we have. And today we have 2 reports, but you'd find there are links that will be shared with all of you so that we also have other reports from the countries that we do not have the hard copies today. We have a synthesis report that combines all the information from the 4 countries, and then would have different case studies for the different countries. In South Africa, we do have 2 cases that have been highlighted, and the good thing is one of those cases highlighted is here in Cape Town, which is the Ocean View project. And the other one is the Bafo and Busi project, which is in Eastern Cape, where they are producing food organically. And that is a healthy food, which is produced in a healthy manner, and one which we are assured that it does not have any chemicals in it. So when you partake of that food, you are assured of good health, as was also mentioned by Mathai when she said, Africa can also be one of the healthiest places because of the food that we eat. So take note of that and also want to go the same route to ensure that the food that you eat becomes the medicine that you are taking every day, and the medicine that you need becomes the food that you eat every day. So moving forward to Tanzania, we do have 2 cases that were also cited from Tanzania, and the 2 cases of 2 organizations in Tanzania which are also looking at the issue of organic food. One is Tanzania Organic Food Association, and the Tanzania Food Association actually is headed by somebody who holds a doctorate in agriculture. And she says, and she was part of a conference that I attended last week, when she says, of all the things that we can actually, well, that we need to safeguard, it is the seed of the original food that we need to eat and that we need to know how it came about. Because the problem that we are going to be having in future is that we are going to be using the wrong seed for our food, and that wrong seed would also not be part of the medicine that I spoke about. And then to Zambia, we have 2 cases that we have also been given. One is of a training institution called Kasisi. At first, it was like just a small NGO operating on the sidelines in Zambia, but now universities are going to these centers to learn about agroecology. And it is now even moving on to train the region on agroecology. So it has also been highlighted on what they are doing and also the manner in which they are sharing the information and the projects that they have on agroecology. And the other one in Zambia is the Loktaguna Organics. For those that have been following the food series that we've been having, one of the presenters that came on board is called Kanangwa New Love. And she's running a farm that I personally visited in Lusaka. And she's growing food organically, no chemicals, no pesticides, no fertilizer. And when you walk into that place, you feel the sense that you belong there because everything is as it should be. The trees are there, the birds are there, the chickens are there. You have a bit of goats and wildlife. And she says the whole farm is self-sustaining. There is nothing that comes from outside. She grows the vegetables, and because of the good work that she is doing, Emirates, the airline Emirates actually visited the farm and they say this is the food that we want to feed all our passengers. So she is a supplier of the Emirates. As it flies into Africa, they pick up the produce from there to feed those that travel on that airline. So why am I mentioning this? It is because we can grow good food in a sustainable manner and share it commercially with others and still earn a living, because the issue that we're having with most people is that, is it sustainable? Is it something that can actually give a life to somebody? But here we have a case of somebody who is doing it and doing it right. And therefore, at the end of the day, it is paying off for the environment. It is paying off as a source of livelihood. And it is also a source of good food for others. And finally, for Zimbabwe, we have 2 cases for Zimbabwe as well. And the 2 cases that we have in Zimbabwe are also centers on people who are practicing agroecological production of food. And not only food in terms of crops, but also for animals. Because they are saying we have the small animals, goats and sheep, that can be kept in a sustainable manner, free from the battery cages, but also producing good food and also being part of the environment and sustaining the environment. So this can be done. And these are the cases that we have outlined. So I would encourage you to read through and also share with as many people as possible, and to also make use of the material in your faith groups. And this, for today, we are saying to all of us, we have the resources at SAFCEI, and would also want you to partake and to tell us of those things that you are doing so that we can highlight them and share them to the world and tell them in faith we have the resources and we can make this world a better place, not only for us, but for the future generations. And not only for us, but for other creation that we are sharing this earth with. Because as we are dealing with the issue of food, we would not want to only deal with food for people, but as was noted earlier on, we would also want to deal with the correct environment for other living things that we have with which we share this earth. So today, I would want us to receive these publications that we have, read them and share them widely. And I would like Francesca maybe to share with us the ones that we have there.
As you can see, we're an activist organization, and you've just, with the mic has been taken over by Gabriel. Well done, Gabriel. You see, now you've all been influenced into these excellent publications that have been produced. These are just 2 of them, but please help yourselves, make use, lots of wisdom here. And just this morning, Gabriel and I were talking to a new climate resilience fund from Egypt. Now, why did they contact SAFCEI? Because they saw us in the press and in the news. So you can see now how this cycle and how this SAFCEI team works so well together, because the good work is going on in the communities. The good work is then put into serious documents that people will take seriously, and then it's also going into the media. So your voices are being heard. Please keep up the excellent work, and thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Francesca, and a round of applause to Francesca. Thank you very much. We also have the other resources that are coming online, like the key role of markets in agroecology transition, as well as the key role of social movements in agroecology, meaning each and every one of us can make a difference. The land that you have around where you stay can be very useful. Go and make it that useful so that you are not only dependent on the supermarket for all your food. You can grow your vegetables at home, you can grow your herbs at home, and you can enjoy them knowing that these are chemical free. So go and practice this at home. I would like to thank each and every one of you, and also move on to the next part of our program, which is where I would want to just do a vote of thanks for all of us who have managed to attend this meeting And take note that you have made a difference by being in this meeting today. You are well appreciated for making time to attend this meeting. Allow me to outline the people that have made a huge difference for this day to be what it is today. I would like to acknowledge first and foremost the board, the SAFCEI board, for all the hard work and for the push that they always give for us to be able to deliver to you the work that you have had being shared by Francesca and all that has been said. Would want also to acknowledge the past board members who continue to attend the meetings and also associate with SAFCEI. We would like to thank each and every person who has managed to attend this meeting, those that are in this room and those that are online. You make SAFCEI what it is by being present today and your continued influence. We know that most of you always come to us to give suggestions and to give information on the work that we are doing through the online suggestions that you make. Please do continue to make those suggestions. We will be listening and we will continue to want to work together. And would also want to thank Wanjira Mathai for the speech that she has delivered. I think you all would want to also agree with me that in what she has said, it has also given us a way to go, maybe as staff, but it has also given you also a cause to want to do other things and to do them differently, using that which we have as the most important thing to us as people of faith. When we have our faith and we continue to pursue it in a manner that would make this world a different place, would want each and every one of you to take part and start from your family and go and share with them what you have heard today. And we know that will make a big difference. I would also want to say to colleagues from the office, thank you so much for all the time that you have spent in planning for this meeting and putting together the materials and running around and ensuring that each and every one of the people in this room and online have managed to be in this meeting. Thank you so much, colleagues, for all the hard work that you have done. And added to that today, we see a new team member who joined us today to ensure that we are able to connect to everyone and also to share the information. I would like to recognize Michael Jairani, who is amongst us. And as I was chatting to him, I realized it's also from Zimbabwe. So thank you very much for the good work that you have done to make sure that we have all the good things. And I think some of you have been enjoying the music that is coming through. I want to thank the musician who is with us today and who has shared the music. And I know he's going to continue to help to share the music so that our event is soothing as we are going through. And also the staff at the Leah and Desmond Tutu Center, would want to thank them for making sure that all of us are comfortable and also that we have those things that we need to use for this meeting to go on smoothly. So thank you everyone for all the good work, and may God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
I'm just stealing Gabriel's mic. Just before we do a final prayer to close this meeting, we would like to just take a moment to say happy birthday to Gabriel, who is he's working hard on his birthday. Happy birthday, Gabriel. Shall we sing to him? Yes? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gabriel. Happy birthday to you. Thank you so much, Gabriel. What a star he is.
Thank you, everyone. It is such a wonderful day to stand before you as a young baby. Thank you. And now I would like to invite those that have been asked to give us the closing prayers. Sorry, David. Okay, we have one of our board members, David Nene, to give us closing prayer. Over to you, David.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I would like to start my video. And then I have a little bit of a video that I could share, if that could be allowed for us to have a moment together. Let me know if you are able to.
Yes.
Yes.
Kindly confirm the audio.
The audio is fine.
Okay. For the sake of order and time, may I know how much time I would have to take for this kindly?
You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. We compose ourselves, let loose of the burdens that we bear, the challenges that we face, and invite a higher power amidst us. We invite the God of silence in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, sorry, David, we can't hear the audio of the video on in the room. I don't know if the.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let me see whether there is anything that requires to be done on my end.
It's a lovely sky. And we can see the writing.
That's the only thing you can see. Okay, I think my settings allow for me to share the audio as well, but it appears I may not be able to do that.
They say you need to stop share and reshare again, please, David. Now everyone's seeing the feet under the water. You see?
Okay, okay. So I now proceed with sharing.
Thank you. Please do. Sorry, David, still no sound. Sorry about this. Can we share the video after?
It's all right. That's all right.
So sorry.
No, it's all right.
Or you can send us a URL?
Yes. Yes, I can do
Yes.
that right away. Doing it via chat in a moment.
Oh, birthday for you.
It's not a problem. It just reminds me that I am not David Munene Gates or
but you are an IT whiz, so
they say so until they remind you that you might be an outdated IT expert. Okay, I'm so sorry about these colleagues. I think I'll just stop share and then So I'll send it to, so we have the link sent to Tara.
Okay, great.
Okay. So can it be her? I can see something on the screen, but is that my share? No.
Is that Usha's share?
Yes. So Tara, kindly, if you're able to proceed, or whoever is managing that. Okay, you can play it in full screen. Thank you.
The God of silence beckons me to journey to my heart, where He awaits. Oh Lord, I hear You calling tenderly. To You I come to gaze at the beauty of Your face. I cannot see, to rest in Your embrace. I cannot feel, to dwell in Your love, hurting but sweet. To be with You, to glimpse eternity. God of night, fount of almighty light, show Your light, that my heart like Yours burn bright.
Be still, the torment of the night shall not encumber you if you believe. My child, this darkness isn't emptiness, for here I mold your heart unto my image. Painfully you long to see the self you yearn to be, but fear to know the world from which you flee. In me find home. All these I give you if you remain.
God of silence, we invite you in the works of SAFCEI. Give us the courage to journey in solidarity and authentic, compassionate, and love for the poor. For decisions made here may be bound by divinity and executed through human goodwill for the glory and honor of your name. And this prayer we make to the one and only triune God, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you everybody in the room. And this is the end of our 2023 annual general meeting. And we'll have some quick announcements. We would like to invite those people that are online on Zoom to turn on their cameras so that we can take pictures of each and everyone who has managed to attend the AGM. And to those in the room, I think we've been taking pictures all through. Possibly we may have a group photo at the end, but just an announcement for those that are in the room. We will be having refreshments that will be served in the next room as we go out, and we thank each and every one of you for coming. Thanks to the lovely people online for keeping through, and we are so sorry that we extended our time by this 10 minutes. Sorry about that. Next time, we know Bram would want us to finish at exactly 5 o'clock.
Sabrina Jacobs, who just wrote in the chat, she's come in from California. So it's, I mean, it must be very early morning. Thank you, Sabrina. I wonder if the camera is online.
And let's keep smiling because the tech team keeps on taking pictures. So please give us the best of you.
Wow, so good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who is online. We take note also of Sarah Nielsen from SSNC.
I don't see Kirtanya. This photo cannot be complete without Kirtanya.
Thank you.
Yeah, she is there.
Now she has come on board, and thank you, Mike Gurupira. Now David is happy, so I think we are all happy. And thank you so much all for coming. A big round of applause for each and every one of you. Oops.
There's refreshments served next door, please. Guys, please enjoy.